friends, they used to laugh at me. Used to show them on my record something casually. Used to say it was a passion, I'm a path to be. Then they told me that I couldn't, so I had to be. Tell me what they really think about it now. Used to hate it, but I guarantee they're proud. Had to do it just to show them that I could, yeah. Now I finally think I took it where I should, yeah. Had a jokes on you and now you're on and laughing. I did a whole lot of winning. Look, it came from a passion. I see a whole lot of knowings I could see out in public, and that may think a lot of things. Man, at least think something, now you the judge. Hey, now tell me where you ended up. Yeah. Look, I bet it was a simple job. Yeah. Look, I went and took a different route. Yeah. Look, that's why my life is different now. Back in my feelings, look, when I wasn't so gifted and I was learning to do this, and all I heard were the critics, and now I'm playing for that shit. Look, I was way out the basis, but I just needed some talent so I could wait this to greatness. Oh yeah, you ain't never think this, no, no, no. Stop me while I started, homie, whoa, whoa. Now this shit settled, just go better and better. I'll always remember, yeah, yeah.
Quentin West, what's happening, man? You're that one in your space, brother, and I wanted to have you on here to kind of show you or show the world who you are and what you do and why you're different than most of these people that are doing the same kind of thing in the Airbnb space and helping people. And first of all, too, we got to get to know like how you got into this, and then I also want to like really touch on why you didn't just be an Airbnb guy yourself, doing it for yourself. Why you wanted to help so many other people do it too. You know, that's always an interesting topic to find out, like why. You know, so how did you get into Airbnb in the first place, Quentin?
Yeah, and first off, appreciate you having me, Mike. Airbnb, people laugh when I tell them this, but it was never an intentional business that I started. I started it out of desperation. I had a house I was living in, and I was in between jobs. I was, trying to go into real estate investing full time, but I started as an agent, and about 3 months in, I wasn't making much money. I couldn't afford the house that I bought a few months prior. And it was either put it on Airbnb and just try to float myself by, or give it up to foreclosure. And, I lived in an area where there wasn't a lot of travel. Like when you think Airbnb, you think like vacation spots. I'm in a town of 25,000 people. So I'm sitting here thinking, well, maybe I might get a couple rentals a month and that'll offset my payment. Well, the first month I made $1,000 in profit. The second month I made $1,500 in profit.
In that market.
In this market.
Yeah.
And it opened my eyes to what was possible, because, previously I was kind of scared to become an investor. And here I was, an investor by accident, basically, just by desperation. And once I realized potential, even in my small market, I spent the next 12 months obsessing over it. Mm-hmm. Learning about business credit. I learned about a creative strategy called Airbnb arbitrage, where you can rent a property and sublease it on Airbnb. And through maxing out my credit cards and using all the cash that I had on hand, I ended that year making about $14,000 a month in net profit. I had 12 units. I built out a cleaning team and built out a lot of automations to basically help me reach financial freedom, as crazy as that sounds, within a single year.
So see, the crazy thing about this is, first of all, thinking about being an investor, right? Most people think you got to have money.
Yeah.
Like I'm an investor because I have money to invest, right? But you've created ways to be able to do this without having necessarily money, and you were in a desperate situation. What did you do prior to this that got you into the desperate situation in the first place?
So long story short, I dropped out of college. I thought I wanted to be a aerospace engineer, and about a year and a half, I figured out that was the last thing on the planet I wanted to do. And then I started working construction for a little while as a heavy equipment operator, and I swung a crane into a power line and had like a near-death experience. If you ever get bored, just go to YouTube, type in crane hits power line. Typically, they don't survive. I literally felt all the electricity get through my body, but what that situation did for me is it made me realize I need to stop like living life on the back burner, actually taking initiative and seeking out the dreams that I had, because I always wanted to get into real estate. I was just too afraid to jump in. I thought that I needed money. I thought that I needed experience, but it turns out I didn't. And so I jumped in with this one property, and still didn't have a ton of money after that. I was basically living on that house, and then I started slowly selling a few houses over the next few months. But then I learned about business credit, and the problem still comes with how do you get the money out and use that money as a down payment for your rent and deposit and things like that. And I learned that you could send yourself an invoice through QuickBooks, pay it with the credit card, pull the money out of the bank, and use that for your rent.
Whoa, okay, hold on, wait, slow down. So I understand this, but I want to make sure that, like, people watching and understand this, because this is important. So invoice yourself, have a business credit card. Okay. Yeah. You have access to as much as they give you, 60, sometimes 100 grand. It's crazy business credit. Like it's just wild how free it is. Free access is. So you get this credit card. What was the limit? Do you remember?
I think it was like 12,000.
Okay. So you had 12 grand
crazy.
And you're like, okay, well, how can I access this? And most people think credit card, I got to buy something with the credit card.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can buy something, but you're saying you invoice yourself. Then you use the credit card to pay your own business.
Yep.
Now you have this cash. So you can do an invoice for, the credit line's 12,000. You could do $12,000 invoice.
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
And then sure. You write yourself, or you pay with the credit card. Now you have this $12,000 minus the credit card fee, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And now you have this access to this cash as in a business now form that you can use as you wish.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So so that's how you did that. All right.
Yep. That's how I did it. Cause you couldn't pay rent directly with a credit card unless they've got, it's a big company and they've got like Buildium or a property management software set up like that.
Right.
Most of these guys are mom and pop shops that I'm renting from. So that provided me with the solution. Got that first unit, and I really didn't know how to look at the data. I didn't know about AirDNA or any of these softwares that they have now that you can pull up revenue potential. I just found something as close as I possibly could to the house that was already working. I just took a model that I knew that was working and I replicated it.
In the same market?
Very similar market within 20 minutes of the house that I had. But in my mind, it would perform a little bit better. It was closer to the city than my house was. And it performed about the same, if not a little bit better. And then I just kept replicating that over the course of a year, and maxed out my credit cards, which may not be the best business model, but I ended the year, making, I don't know, probably 300,000 a year in gross revenue and 100K a month, or 14K a month in net profit. So it's pretty incredible what you can do with just a little bit of initiative and, some know-how.
Well, that first year, how many properties was that?
That was 12.
12 properties.
Yeah.
And did you get to a point where you couldn't get more credit cards?
Yeah. So, I did hit a point where I more or less maxed out what I could do on credit, which was a mistake in itself. I mean, I over leveraged myself. And I got to the point where I was basically, I had enough to live off of my properties and pay the debt, but nothing else.
And you were arbitraging at this point. Like, you weren't buying these properties.
Wasn't buying them.
So just so everybody understands, you'd go on Airbnb and you rent the properties. And those people would be okay with you subletting it. Yeah. And then you would raise the rent higher than they were offering. And that's where your spread came from.
Yep, exactly. So we would make, $1,000 to $1,500 a month on each property in profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So within 1 year, we invested 12 to 15 grand on each one. We would typically make all our money back that very first year. And the second year is all profit.
Yeah. And then were you working off spreadsheets at the time? Like, how did you keep track of everything?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't even have a spreadsheet. I didn't even know how to use a spreadsheet at that time.
Really? So how were you keeping track of everything? In Airbnb or?
In Airbnb.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see all your income in Airbnb, and I was just, basically operating my business on how I felt things were going, which is never a great way to do it, but I didn't know another way. I dropped out of college. No one ever showed me how to use a spreadsheet. I was just a, farm kid that, knew how to put in a little bit of work and set some properties up.
and then all 12 of those properties worked right away.
Yeah. Every one of them worked.
After that first year, you're maxed credit cards now.
Yep.
Right. And you still have these properties that are working.
Yeah.
Do you have to renew it every month, or is there long-term rents in Airbnb when you're renting them yourself?
So it's a year-long lease, typically initially. we started implementing like a 3-year renewal option where we have a previously agreed upon rent increase. Typically, landlords want to see at least 3% year over year. That way, we have the option to renew for 3 years, but we don't have to. And that way, we can keep our money secure in that investment. The landlord can't back out or sell the property and get rid of our lease. But we're also not tied into 3 years if we don't want it for 3 years.
Right. And you're also getting some spread too, because you're renting it long term, which you get a better price, right?
Short term. But yeah, we get a better price. We're renting it. Yes.
You were
yes.
renting it
Yeah.
from the landlord for a year, get a better
Yeah.
price, but then you're short terming, which gives a higher spread too, without having to. Yeah.
Yeah. Our average rent was around 1,500, and we would make around 3,500 on Airbnb.
Yeah. And so when you see this, like, why wouldn't anybody do this? You know what I mean? And you weren't even keeping track properly. Like, you didn't have a spreadsheet or software or anything besides Airbnb. So it's like, okay, so then that first year you get into that, you got these 12 properties, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, this works. What happened the second year?
Second year I had to get creative because I, maxed out all my credit cards. I didn't have any more cash. The business could no longer build based on, its own cash flow. So I started flipping some houses with other investors' money.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I would find the deal and then I would match it with the investor and we would split the profits. So I did a few of those. I sold a few houses with my real estate license. I probably did, I don't know, 6 figures or so that year in real estate commissions. And then after the second year, I pretty much gave my license up and went Airbnb full time, and then had enough money where I could keep growing and also live on the money that I was bringing in.
Yeah, there's an important point here. This first year you made 14 grand a month in profit. That's a different financial situation to be in after dropping out of college and being broke, right? And so let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of people, the key with this, I've been in sales since 1998.
Yeah.
In sales, we would have good months, good week, whatever, and we would be like, oh man, okay, so if I made 10 grand this week, if I times 52 by 10, that's 520,000 a year. I make $520,000 a year now.
Yeah.
Just after having a good week, right?
Yeah.
And then we would up level our living, what's the word? Our lifestyle.
Yeah.
Bad thing to do.
Yeah.
You need to stay broke, like pretend that you're still broke.
Yeah.
Right. Did you do that, or did you upgrade your lifestyle that first year?
I would say I've always invested in the business. I haven't really upgraded my lifestyle. I mean, I do stuff for the business. I just got back from Dubai, then Vegas, and going to Houston next week. But as far as a lifestyle, I would say the only thing we've really splurged on, even still, is my wife's car. She drives a brand new GMC Ultimate. That's not even really splurging. Let's face it. No, I mean,
it's not like it's
105K. So nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing multiple 6 figures a month, so we could, buy whatever we want,
right,
within reason. But I'm still driving a truck I inherited from my grandpa.
Okay.
2014 Chevrolet 15. I don't drive that much.
Yeah.
So I'm impact focused. I want to help people. I want to, travel and grow bigger. And I'm also in it for the long run, not just, that's why I think, I would say we're the ones, we're not just focused on the quick buck, selling anybody with a heartbeat, a coaching product so that I can go buy a Rolls Royce. We're, reinvesting almost everything into the business so that we can create a huge impact, a worldwide impact. Yeah.
Anybody that's an entrepreneur, man, solopreneurs out there, anybody that's out there, you do not make the money that's coming in as your revenue. That's not what you make.
Yeah.
And reinvesting in people, systems, process, education, up-leveling your skill and knowledge, all these things will snowball your business to the point where you'll have so much money you don't know what to do with it. But if you don't do that and you think that that's what you make, you upgrade your lifestyle, you're screwed. You're setting yourself up for major failure. Yeah. I had to learn the hard way, for myself, but luckily I did. And now when you're on the Airbnb looking for properties or whatever, do they have like year lease prices on there as well? Or do you have to call the owner up or contact them and work something out with them?
Yeah, you can rent on Airbnb for a year. I would say it's not typically common, but you definitely can.
Yeah. I mean, but do they advertise that long term on there most of the time, or is it something that they're only short term on there, and then you got to contact the homeowner and say, hey, I'd like to know some information about a year.
Yeah, you could still you can't call the homeowner directly. You have to inquire on the platform, but you can rent long term directly on Airbnb. I mean, we've had people do it. It's just not very common. Most
Gotcha.
of the time, they'll rent for 2, 3, 4 months max, or start out on like a couple weeks, and then we'll have their information and we'll renew off platform. That way
Gotcha.
we can collect a little bit more revenue, not have to pay Airbnb fees.
Yeah, and then you figured out also how to find properties that are for rent,
Yeah,
beyond Airbnb, obviously,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that second year you started and you got rid of your license, and then from there, you had some cash flow now to be able to use for yourself, and not have to worry about credit cards.
Yep.
And then did you still use credit cards after that?
Yeah, I still use credit cards, mostly for the points.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I had something that I needed to purchase, I would use a credit card and then just pay it off with the cash. That way, I could get points on Amex and use it for flights and things like that.
Right, right. By the way, this isn't for just real estate or Airbnb businesses. If you have a business out there and you get some credit card access, lines of credit on credit cards, use the invoice method, man.
Yep.
You got to pay. You're gonna have to pay the payment. You better have a reason that you're doing it to invest in something that's going to cash flow. But I mean, it's money's there. Money's all over. I mean, there's so much business credit out there. It's available. It's nothing funny. But most people don't understand that part of, hey, invoice it. And then now, by the way, with that, can I ask you this? Because I don't know how this works, but let's say you have a card in the business name. Can you invoice yourself and pay your invoice yourself with your own credit card that's under that business name?
Yeah, so you could either make it like a owner contribution, from what I understand, or you could do like a loan to the business and pay it
Gotcha.
back.
Yeah,
Or you
gotcha.
could even forgive it at a
But you
later
can
period.
but you can have an invoice that says Quentin West LLC or whatever, and that card is in Quentin West LLC name too. You can do that.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
QuickBooks has they have multiple different accounts, but you could do like QuickBooks Online for the company, and then I think they have a QuickBooks Sole Proprietor. So
Yeah.
you could even use like QuickBooks Sole Proprietor to manage your own finances and
Yeah.
receipts and things like that.
Or
Send
Stripe or
invoices.
any of those payment processing
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
right?
any of those. Yeah,
Yeah. I got you. This is good stuff to know for people out
Yeah.
there that don't know this stuff, man. And there's
Yeah.
the information's out there. You just got to go get it. So, yeah. And then how long were you in it until you decided to start thinking about, like, I want to help other people?
I would say probably about 3 years. Year like around year 2.5. I really hit some hard times. I was doing really good in my markets, and had I would say somewhat of an ego, almost like I couldn't fail. Every property I opened up was just crushing it.
Yeah.
So I started 7 units in Arizona and 4 in Texas all at the same time. It was like 200 grand for arbitrage units, furniture, the whole 9 yards. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was so used to competing in a very easy market that when I went to these more competitive markets with thousands of units, I mean, I didn't know what to do. It was like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
And so within 5 months, I woke up with negative 2,500 in my bank account. I owed 67,000 in rent and 150,000 on my Amex. And for an entire year, I woke up with a negative bank account balance.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, I literally went from making 140 grand a month on Airbnb to borrowing quarters from my daughter's piggy bank just to feed us.
Damn. So wait, okay. So then you mentioned furniture. So these places aren't already furnished?
No, they're not furnished. So you got to buy the furniture or rent. In some cases, we rent it.
Well, Airbnb, though, they have furnished properties most of the time, right? But then
Yeah.
when you went outside of Airbnb, that's the ones that didn't have furniture.
Yeah, well, you've got to rent them long term on like Zillow or something like that. And then when you put them on Airbnb, you've got to furnish them.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And then so that happens. And what's going through your mind at the time?
A ton of depression, ton of feeling a failure, imposter syndrome. At the time I had a few people that I was like coaching for free on the side. Really wasn't charging anything. I really didn't even know that existed, to like charge money for your time like that. And then about 6 months into that, after, basically wallowing in my own depression and tears, I decided nobody's going to fix it for me. And I just need to get up and take it one day at a time. And just,
How are you getting by financially though? With
I
negative
wasn't,
bank account?
I
Like,
wasn't
but I mean, like,
every,
yeah,
I
but like,
wasn't.
you got to eat. Did you go behind on bills and all that too?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had well over 100 creditors calling me every day.
Oh my
Because think
gosh.
about it. I had 47 units. Each one of those properties had rent payment, water, power, internet, some cases gas. So every day I literally had to look at all the properties, see what was getting turned off that day so that I could pay it. Then I had to focus on the rest of the business to see what I could do to get out of that situation. So like every day, like I made just enough to pay like, almost what I owed that day, but it wasn't quite enough. And so I, started again flipping a couple houses on the side.
Wait a minute.
And
Wait a
then
minute. Did you have some money built up though that you saved from the
I
couple
had
years that you
nothing.
were?
I had nothing.
No, but at some point you had some saved up, right? And then it started dwindling.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
I invested most of it in cash because at the time my credit cards were maxed out.
Yeah.
Invested most of my cash in those new units.
Okay.
Just a stupid decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And basically drained myself dry. And within 5 months, I was in really bad situation.
And before you talk about how you got out of it, I want to know this. Looking back on it, if you would have just did something different,
Yeah.
you could have built slower, right?
Yeah.
You'd have been all right if you didn't do
Oh, yeah.
those two
Yeah,
locations.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely good. Because the problem was I invested so much in those markets and felt so like invested, bought in, that I started spending a ton of money flying back and forth to them, like trying to fix problems, build teams, like get things on track, um, and just driving myself crazy and spending way more money than I needed to. And then I lost track of my properties here. The quality control went down. My managers started, staying at the house because they knew I wasn't around and just let it go to basically nothing.
Yeah.
And so I started losing money in my properties here that were doing well.
Gotcha.
And
And so you also look at the lesson of having a reserve cash account
yeah,
and not investing all of it, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Learned a lot of lessons during that year.
Yeah.
But what ultimately helped me get back on track was one, optimization. That's why we teach that so much now. I mean, if optimization, and it wasn't optimization alone, I'll give you that. Like I did some other stuff on the side, but it was one of the major things that helped us get back on track and actually be profitable was optimizing our listings, making sure we were marketing properly, we were pricing correctly, we were filling occupancy and not just leaving it to chance to get filled. That made a huge difference. I mean, I probably added an extra 50 to 100 grand a year, like right off the bat, the properties that we were operating, which helped us, slowly get back afloat. But I had to hire mentors and people like that to even learn that. I probably
So
spent
that's 6
50
months
grand.
you were wallowing it, right? 6
Yeah.
months you're wallowing it. You figured nobody's going to come save me. I got to figure this out. What
Yeah.
did you start doing?
I started just taking it one day at a time, figuring out what the biggest domino was for that day that I could do to push the company forward. Sometimes it was, one case I borrowed 25 grand from my grandma, because
Mhm.
I had no other option.
Yeah.
And then, if you're not a God believer, then I don't know if you just haven't had a lot of experience or if you're not paying attention, but I had a really crazy event. I was already a believer, but I remember this was like probably the very bottom of the bottom. Like I was about to basically file bankruptcy, and I decided to do a webinar and try to coach people because I I knew that the knowledge that I had was valuable. I just made a bad decision.
Right.
I had a lot of issues I had to deal with mentally, but I knew that, I knew something that could provide people value. So I decided to do a webinar to a group of like 15 people. And I sold two packages at $9.97 each. And someone that I didn't even know was watching called me afterwards. This guy I knew locally. He's like, "Hey, I love what you're doing. I don't have a need for your product, but I want to loan you $50,000."
Jeez, jeez.
Just a crazy experience, like the
Were
lowest
you
of the
were you
low.
sharing your story in that webinar, like what you went through, and
No,
like just being very vulnerable?
this was in the middle of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was just playing Mr. Cool, like everything was going smooth.
So why did he feel the need to to lend you 50,000, like to invest? He wanted to basically invest with you.
He had $1 million from a portfolio he sold, and he wanted to get some kind of return on it instead of it sitting in a bank account. And
Gotcha.
I was talking about deals that we were doing and things like that. And he's
Yeah.
like, "If you have a deal, then I'll give you the 50 grand."
Gotcha.
And yeah, that pulled me out of a major spot and helped me get a better attitude, because I was my dad was in my ear going, "Hey, at any time you can just file bankruptcy,
Pull
and
the
that
plug.
may be an easier route." And that gave me some confidence to keep going.
And what'd you do with the 50 grand?
Paid that.
Yeah.
I paid off some rent. I paid off some utilities. At the time, I'd already negotiated with several landlords to tack on the rent that I owed to the back end of the lease. That way it could give me some leeway and we could get back on track. And ended up paying everybody off, every last penny. So
were you still renting properties during this time, or were there a lot of vacancies?
No, I wasn't signing new leases, but I was renting them.
No. But that's what I'm saying. You were renting them out.
Yeah.
That continued. Yeah.
That was my only income source.
Yeah. Well, what was the problem that got you into trouble though? Like you were having trouble renting them out at some point in those competitive markets.
So I started the Arizona properties in July, which is the worst market. It's 120 degrees.
Yeah, very hot.
Nobody's going there.
The
properties I needed to make 110 a night at the bare minimum, all the competition was renting at 45.
Oh, gotcha.
And so I didn't understand. I didn't understand pricing strategy or how to really be more competitive to fill vacancy. Didn't understand midterm rentals, and that I could, use that as an alternative. And so they pretty much just sat vacant for 5 months.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then so then you got this little window, 50 grand comes in, helps you out, get caught up a little bit, and then you still had to figure out how to turn the tide. So what did you figure out? That's when you started optimizing. And
I started optimizing. That helped me a little bit more. I started doing some coaching, not anything major. I probably took it to 10,000 a month. That helped a little bit. I arbitraged a warehouse, a lease that I had no business signing, but I did it anyway. I signed it for 6,000 a month, and then I put a tenant in there for 10,000 a month. And so the past 4 years, I've made 4,000 a month in profit with no turnover, no cleaning, no maintenance. So that was a pretty amazing deal.
How did you know that would get 10,000 when it was, being offered at 6,000?
I just knew. I was an agent, so I knew the market pretty well.
Okay.
And I just knew it was really cheap. And the guy also told me that if I didn't need it or anything, I could just give him a 90-day notice, and I could back out of the lease. So that gave me some confidence. But I knew that it could rent for more.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a perfect time, perfect location, kind of fall in your lap opportunity. Wish I could do more though. I mean, I'm sure I could if I spent time on it.
Yeah.
But that was a great one. I started flipping some houses as well. So that, I flipped a couple previously, but then I really started like reaching out to investors and telling them I could do this. Started negotiating some creative finance contracts so that I could get into properties for like no money down and then find an investor afterwards. That was great. I mean, I probably made extra $100,000 that year, just doing that and put no money into it, just my knowledge and labor. So yeah, just little side jobs. Sold everything that I owned. I mean, it was like every week. I mean, at the time I had like 6,000 a week in payroll too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause I had full-time manager. We owned our own cleaning company. Every week didn't have money for payroll. And it was like very last minute, something always happened.
That is
The closest
wild.
time it was like, I think it was like, I don't know, an hour from, having to submit payroll in QuickBooks before they, it bounced my account. And a trailer that I had up for sale for like 6 months with no traffic. All of a sudden I get a message and he's like, "Hey, meet me in Walkertown in 30 minutes and I've got the cash with me." I'm
Jeez.
like, how does this even happen? I
It's
drive
beyond it's
out.
beyond human
It
understanding,
is.
but that's what faith is all about, man.
It is.
Yeah.
Every week it worked out.
Yeah. And then when did you start getting your stride back?
Um, I would say beginning of 2023 is when things really started getting better. Um, I started taking on some more clients. My properties were back up and running. Um, Everything was like, optimized now and profitable. I just had the debt that I was
Yeah.
carrying.
Yeah. But
So I
that's not a
still,
bad thing if you can service it,
yeah, no, it's true.
you
Well,
know?
with the debt in the fact that I had, like rent that I owed, like it was like, I don't know, 80,000 or more at this point,
Yeah.
that I owed at some point, but negotiated at the end of the lease. And, I had a house that I bought with creative finance, like at the end of my first year in business. And, I didn't realize it, but it had appreciated a lot in value. And, I think I had 120,000 in equity. And so my friend one day was just like helping me look through what I had and what I could do. And he's like, "Well, why don't you just sell this house?"
Yeah.
It was just like one of those stupid things that I
It's
was
right in front of
completely
you.
overlooking. Yeah. So I sold that house. I ended up making like 110 in profit, paid off, most of my rent debt. I paid off the rest of the loan that I had from the 50 grand. And then I was back on track.
How'd that feel when you realized that?
Um, Pretty surreal. Not,
Yeah.
not yeah, not even like it was reality because I spent basically 2 years digging out of a hole,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, dude, it's amazing. So now where are you at now? Like what's going on now? Like how many units you have and what are you
Yeah.
doing with coaching and all that?
Yeah. So right now we've got 43 units. We're not adding any more single family units. We want to get into hotels. So I've actually been downsizing so that we can, kind of offload some liability and focus more on that. But coaching is, the biggest thing that I'm passionate about now. I was originally teaching beginners, and then last year around this time, it was just me. I was the only salesperson. I was cold DMing every morning. I would wake up and DM 100 people before I started my day. Built that to 30,000 a month or so. Hired my first employee. We 10x'd in like 30 days. And since then, we've coached over 1,000 clients in 15 different countries.
So when you
And
cold DM, I do this too, by the way. Like I
okay,
DM, like I think that's how we connected actually.
yeah.
But so when you're DMing people, who were you looking for to DM? Just anybody, or like what was
Uh,
your target?
yeah. So initially, it was people that were following competitors.
Yeah.
Then I started making like value posts in Facebook groups where people would just like attach to it. Like I would get, um, during this time period, I built relationships with midterm rental companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, with arbitrage, it's fantastic because you can negotiate most of the time for them to pay up front. So some deals, I would like find a house that I got a yes on from the landlord, negotiate the contract with the insurance company, and then they would pay the rent up front. I would front load it with a credit card and then pay everything off within 2 weeks. So like I may invest 12,000 in the property, they would pay me 25.
Who would pay you 25? The
The insurance company.
so
These are
explain that part.
yeah, so
How was
these are for like victims of fire and
Oh,
flood.
okay. Gotcha.
So like
Yeah.
somebody's house burns down,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
need a
Yeah.
place while they're finding a new one or they're
Yeah. Okay.
rebuilding. And so I built relationships with those companies because we had several properties in the area. So almost every time they reached out to me, I had a solution for them, where I
Right.
would go find a property that a friend had or somebody.
Yeah.
So she just got in the habit of reaching out to me before anyone else. So
Gotcha.
we, for the longest time while I was really working that relationship, we basically owned the market in this area for midterm rentals.
Yeah.
Um, but I did that, and yeah, that was a great relationship.
What was the messaging, these cold DMs? What would you say in the first message?
Um, I would typically say something like, "Hey, I see you follow such and such. Do you have a property, or are you just getting started in the business?"
Gotcha.
Uh, then we would talk about, their current situation, why they decided to do that, and get started in the business, what they're currently struggling with most. And then typically that would lead to a call where I would say something like, "Well, this is what I've done so far. Would be happy to give you some pointers." And then we
Yeah.
hop on a quick call, talk through their current situation. I would give them some tips, and then at the end say something like, "Hey, I actually coach people how to do this full time. Have you ever thought about hiring a coach?" And then it would, naturally kind of lead into them signing up for a coaching program.
Yeah. So you led
But
with value. See,
yeah,
this is
absolutely.
what I do, and you're like this as well. Like, we have servant hearts. We want to
Yeah.
help people, so we offer this up front. Like, and people sometimes can't believe when I text them. They're like, "You're not trying to sell." I'm like, I don't try to sell anything. Like, if you need something, I have stuff,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
want to help you. Like, what are your challenges right now?
Yeah.
And listen to them, and then, like you said, you offer these pointers. You're giving
Yep.
something for free, no skin off your back. Just, hey, here's the deal. You want to go deeper with me? I coach people. Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. It's right out in front of you. You don't have to run ads or anything.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Well, Quentin, we're up against the clock. Where can people go deeper with you that want to know more about this?
Yeah. So if you want to go deeper, just send me a message on Instagram at Q Deals Homes. Shoot over that one, and I'll know exactly where you came from.
Love it, man. I love it. All right. Well, what's the vision from here, man? As we wind down, what do you like? What would have to happen to light you up right now?
To light me up, I've done a lot of cool stuff. My big vision for this year and even going into the next 3 to 5 is building not so much the biggest, but the most valuable short-term rental community on the planet.
Yeah.
So where can people go to find deals? Where can they come to get massive value for, the biggest steal of a deal price? That is our initiative. Just like you were talking about with leading with value. Our goal is not to sell any products to people that don't need them or can't utilize them. But if you can make a huge impact on your financial future and your family's financial future, and the only ticket is to pay us some money, then I'm happy to collect that all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to create a network of people that, do the same, push with value first, and, not a sales pitch group for everyone to sell their stuff.
Yeah. That's huge, man. It's changed the game for me. I mean, coming out, I was in the mortgage real estate space for 20 years, and it was always like, hey, we're trying to get people to do refinances and this and that, but it was like, there's no value. I didn't know better. I was just like, hey,
Yeah.
you need a lower rate, you need to pay off some credit card debt, whatever. And it was
Yep.
all that, but it was very transactional. And when you run a
Yep.
business transactionally, people will leave you faster. They don't come back ever.
Yeah.
And it's just like very one way, and it's just not a good way to run a business, and it's not a good way to grow and be fulfilled. So I love what you're doing, man. I'm a big fan. If it won't, but if the podcast thing ends for me one day, I'm gonna just come with you, man, because
Let's do it.
I love
Let's
it. All right,
do
Quentin
it.
West, man. Quentin West, everybody go check him out. What is it on Instagram?
Q Deals Homes.
Q Deals Homes. You'll see that in the show notes, guys. Quentin, appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you spending time with us here on That One Podcast, man.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
All right, folks, but you know the deal. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. We're going all over the country with the show. We're going to Austin next, San Diego next. We're going to be in Nashville. We're going all over the place. Be on the lookout. Watch my Instagram, Mikey C Rock, because we're putting a great content up from these amazing guests that are that one in their space. You're going to want to get connected with a lot of them. Keep going there. Subscribe, like I said, and until next time, be that one.